Today we're going to cover the updates that have been made for version 10 of DBGallery's web version. This is surely the biggest update that we have done in 5 or 6 years, and that is the reason why we wanted to take folks through what those changes are. We will do so over the next hour or so, and going through the larger items first. In summary, version 10 has major functionality as well as user experience improvements. These are all on our web version. For example, we have a complete image collection management that is now available, meaning that all file and folder operations can be done directly from the web. Also, which data is shown and where it's shown is now configurable. This is huge for many of our clients. We have a new dashboard that makes getting back to where you left off very convenient. And we also have virtual sets, aka collections or projects, as well as data views, where we slice and dice the data associated with images to allow you to browse the collection based on that data. And we have custom fields that are now better supported across the web UI. And finally, we have better insights into what is occurring within your collection via both the dashboard and an updated audit trail. You may get an overview of DBGallery's Release 10. You could Google DBGallery Release 10 and it will go to point you to our What's New blog. Right? What's new in version 10. And each of the items that I am going to go through in this video is covered in here. As a matter of fact, the agenda to the left is actually taken directly from this blog post. So with that said, let's get started on file and folder movements and operations. So leaving the dashboard here, which we'll get back to sometime soon, I'm going to go directly to a folder here. One second, let me open up this a little further. Okay. So what we can do is we can now take these files and drag and drop them to any folder that we wish to have them in. So I may drop those 3 in here from Nick, and they, of course, if there's one that already exists, I can override that or cancel. Okay, I'm going to override that. Over here, now you can see that those 3 images are here. Okay, I'm going to move them back just because I like to have them there. Okay, and we can also move folders around as well. As a matter of fact, so we can take this from Nick folder and drop it right over here. And now, that exists in here. Of course, I can just take that and drop it right out off of here as well. Put it back where it was from before. Okay. Now, one of the more important aspects of DBGallery and how it fundamentally works is that these images and the folders are a direct reflection of what is happening in a file server's folder set. So basically, these folders that you see here are simply folders in Windows, well, or Linux if you're using Linux, on the file server. So as files and folders get moved around within inside of DBGallery here, that is directly reflected back on to the source folder system. Now, along with drag and drop movements, all folder operations are here under these 3 dots associated with each folder in version 10. So if you wish to create a folder under from Nick, for example, you create new folder here. Or if you want to set the permissions or rename folder or delete that folder, it occurs right from here. So I can just do this right here, demo creation test. Click OK, and that folder is here. Of course, I can take images and I can drop them down here. And now it has one image. I'm going to put it back. And then delete that folder like such. And it is gone. Now, and folder permissions are also handled through here. Now, the purpose of this video is not to go through user permissions, but since it is here under folder permissions, I will just touch on it briefly. Each user, or actually each role which users belong to, have specific permissions within inside of each folder. They may have no permissions for a folder, so therefore they can't see it at all, or they can have very specific permissions within inside of that folder. So here I can set, say, Corey. I can give Corey right now has no access to that folder, but I can give him access. I can give him read access or edit or delete. I can allow him to share images or not, download, preview, etc. So I'm not going to save any of those changes here. Hey, moving along, our customizable data layout is next. So currently we show lots of data in lots of areas within inside of DBGallery. For starters, we have information right under the thumbs here. So this is the title that says a bicycle. This is the rating, 1 to 5 stars. This is the file size. This here is the camera, the camera model. We may show more data under the thumbs, which is a really nice feature if you're looking, if you're searching out data and what data images have, but what data is shown in here, what data is shown under the thumbs, what data is shown over here can all be configured, meaning what is and what isn't shown and where it is shown, and the order can be configured now. And that is done through Tools and Data Layout Settings. So those data layout settings, some of these are per user, the ones that are under the thumb or over the thumb, as well as the dashboard, which we'll get into in a little bit. But as an administrator, which I believe most folks viewing this video would be, you may set global default settings for all users, and that may be with the gallery view, with what users see when you are sharing images, the preview window, which we saw just a few minutes ago, as well as the full data view and what is seen at the top of that area. So to demonstrate how it works, I'm going to go and do it simply with the preview as well as the shared view. I'm going to do shared view because when one of the most important aspects of DBGallery and image management is to share images with folks that don't have to have a login. So that could be other people within inside of your company, it could be suppliers, or it could be customers of yours that you may want to share a promotional video or sales price sheet or any other type of image. So to change the order that it is shown in, again, right here, so what I'm going to do is I am going to not show location. I'm going to drop that off of here. Okay? I'm going to have the order. I'm going to drop title as well, and I'm going to move keywords to the top of this. Okay? So now if you were to go back here, do a refresh on this page, what happens is that location is no longer visible, keywords is at the top, as you saw me just make a change over here. And that same idea works here. So again, you can add and remove. So if you want to remove something, take it and drag it and just simply drop it over here. So it's gone. So I'm going to put title back here, and simply by moving it back over here like this. I'm not going to remove anything from shared here, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the map at the top. And then we'll go over and we'll see what that looks like in a shared view. So this is our very typical sharing mechanism. Select any number of images. I'll just do 3 in this case. Take this link. Now I could email it to someone, or in this case, I'm just going to open up a new tab and simply drop that link in here. And this is what your client or whoever you're sharing that URL with would see. Thumbs down here and info along here. Now, actually, I believe by default they may not see info. They may need to press info here like this. But as you can see, how we had rearranged this was set up in that share. So again, if I take map and move it down here, come over here, if I did a refresh, you should see map at the bottom. And right, okay, so yeah, there it was. Anyway, there was map at the bottom. Where did it go? Let's try this again. I'm going to reopen up. I'm going to close this tab and reopen up that share, and we should see that map at the bottom. Where did it go? Oh no, it's gone. Let's open an entire new window. Let's open Edge, and we'll go there and have a look at it from here. And there we are. We have map at the bottom. Okay. So it's just a refresh issue in that case. I mean, typically you're not going to be changing those on the fly quite as often as we are during this little demo here, so it won't be an issue. Okay, then moving along, we have dashboard and data insights. So this dashboard, when I first saw it coming out of product development, I wasn't a huge fan of it. But the more I've used it, the more I really like several things. 2 mostly. First of all, when I go into the dashboard, I can go back to where I've been using DBGallery recently. So I can go back to whichever folder I was recently in. So in this case here, I can go back to that inbox simply by pressing that button, or that link I should say, and that's where I go back to. If I want to see if I want to go back to images that I've recently opened, I shouldn't say just me. This is across all users within the system. Just because I'm logged in as a super admin. If I was logged in as a non-admin, I would see just my data in here. That is actually turned off on many of our existing demo systems, so that only super admins see that. But you may have it turned on depending on how you have DBGallery configured, so that other non-admin users can see the dashboard. Okay. But also, so if I want to go back to images, so if I had recently added an image, let's say this one right here from yesterday, I could simply click on that image and go back, and I can tag it directly from a link on the dashboard. Now, along with getting back to where you left off, there's some other interesting information in here, such as the data counters, the number of files that is in this collection. In this case, it's 82,000, which is a fairly average number of image files for a DBGallery client. We have some with several 100,000 or close to 1 million, and some, of course, are down to 10,000. But this is about a medium-sized image collection for DBGallery. So you can see that we have, this is how many photos are in here, how many videos, how many audios, and how many other images, 315. And then you can also see which ones have data, which ones have keywords, or which ones have location. And that can be important if you are wanting to ensure that all images are properly tagged, whether or not they all have location, if location is important for you and such. Right? And because this is across all users, you can this is the second reason why I like the dashboard, because it's across all users, I can see what's happening within the collection. I can see which images are being opened today, or I can see which folders are being active with inside of the collection. I can see which images have been added recently, which ones are being updated, and so forth. Now, there are a couple other things that are tied into this here, because I will take a look at the audit trail functionality a little bit later, and you'll see that you can see more about what's recently added, which ones have been recently opened and updated, and so forth. Now, this dashboard is configurable as well. Going back to data layout settings, I can choose what that dashboard looks like. So I'm going to do it just as a global default setting here. Go back to the dashboard. Oh, and maybe not, because the global default, as you can see, is different from my user. For G. Rogers, if I'm not editing global defaults, this is what it looks like for me, a specifically logged in user. So for just me, what I may do is I may want to have I may want to have most viewed images right next to recently opened images. Now I can't drag this widget up here, but what I can do, I can delete it and take most viewed images and simply move it over here like this. If I don't wish to see file counters or data counters, I can simply move these like that. If I want to see most active users, I can drop this over here, for example. Now if I were to go back here to this tab where I have the dashboard, and I just click on dashboard again, you will see that now the configuration changes appear here. So I have most active users, I have most viewed images across here. So that dashboard comes in very handy, and it's also quite configurable. Okay, moving along then to data views. For folks who have used our, let's call it legacy desktop application, data views were called logical views. And we called them logical views because what it was is it was looking at, we would slice and dice the data that is associated with an image and allow you to browse it in a more logical manner. But so essentially what we have here is, I'm going to go back over to data views here, and what you have are, we can browse on data that we have for the images in the database. We can do that by date. We can do it by specific attribute, such as keywords, subject, or author. We can do it by location, or we can do it by custom field as well. So in this case here, there is 245 that are tagged as being spring in the custom data field. Now you'll see that we have spring and summer, and this is not properly parsed here in 10.0. As a matter of fact, in 10.1, which is maybe released by the time it is expected to be released extremely early in April, of 2020. So that that issue is resolved. But you could, but the point for data views is that you can browse your collection based on data that exists in the application. So I can see all images that are Turkey, and I'm pretty sure there's a Turkey flag in here. There it is. So we know it's from Turkey. And again, keywords and other items. Now, one very useful aspect of data views is that someone who doesn't know what data to look for, they don't know how to search, they don't know what keywords are available, they don't know what data they can look for, what images, and how they're organized. So what you can do is you can come in here now and have a look at attribute, and I can do a search based on keyword, for example, and I can many folks just starting out wouldn't have quite as many keywords as is in this large database, but here you can browse through all keywords, or essentially all data that exists in an image. In an image collection. So if we want to see first place images, click on that link, and here are items associated with first place. In this case, first place at a Toastmasters contest, a public speaking contest. Next is preferences. There's been a number of changes in preferences, which are here. Preferences have always existed, but we've added a few to help out with the number of changes that we've added in release 10. And primarily the ones I'm referring to are the ones that allow you to turn on and off new aspects inside of release 10 of DBGallery. So we can completely turn off the dashboard for all non-administrative users. And we can have the dashboard be shown on login. So upon login, do you want to show thumbs or show the dashboard? I like the dashboard so much that when I log in as G. Rogers, I want to see the dashboard. And we may also decide whether or not we want to show collections or projects. These collections, which we'll get into in a little bit, they can be called whatever you wish to call them, collections or projects. And they can be turned on or off, or basically hidden away from users. That is, we recommend that project/collections are turned on, as well as data views. But what we have found is that existing clients, where their users are used to seeing it look a certain way, they want to turn them off until they get a chance to introduce those new features to their users. So I'm showing the dashboard on login. This is something new in DBGallery. So I'm going to log out here and show that when I log in, I get to see my folders and other information that I had previously opened, and the dashboard here. So that is what I see when I log in, and I absolutely love it. Back to preferences. I did want to show that we'll get into comments a little bit later in this video, but comments can be either disabled, users only, users and guests, or open up completely to anybody. So if you're sharing images via a public link, those anonymous users can now make comments, or just users that are logged in, or comments can be completely disabled. Moving along, and these top few here are the bigger ones. Well, these four here are big ones. So the rest of these should move a little faster. New sorting and grouping options. What we have here, then it's going to simply go back up to where I was, the folders I was using for the demonstration here. that was latest uploads. So for new sorting and grouping options, in the prior to version 10, when you viewed a folder or did search results, let's say I do a search for only the best images here, it was just a blob of thumbs. Now, what we can do at this point, we can group these results based on what the current sort order is. So in this case, they're sorted by added to the database or added to DBGallery. And this is the date that they were added right here. And I can do the same for date taken and many others here. Certainly, I find last updated and last viewed is important. I would like to see sometimes which users have been updating images and when they've been updating. So basically, is there much activity in data updates occurring? Last viewed, how many images are being viewed across the collection today or last week or whatever the case might be? Are clients viewing images? Are users just in general going in and making use of the system? And last viewed allows me to see what is happening on a day-to-day basis from a view perspective. We can also sort by a custom field. So people, composer, and season are custom fields inside of this demonstration database, which happens to be my own personal collection. So in this case here, season can be chosen. So the sort was a little slow on custom fields, and that it will be true. Custom field sorts will always be a little slower. But as you can see here, we have summer, and the other ones have actually no data at all in this particular folder. But if I were to move up to another area, let's just pick a folder such as this one here. Oh, also again, no seasons, no season data in here. So here we have winter, summer, and such. Now, when it comes to speed for sort, just a bit of a side tangent here. These different sorts will perform differently based on what sort order is chosen. So some will be faster than others. And I bring this up because the fastest sort, if you're finding the system running a little slow for moving around folders or searching, sort by relevance is always going to be the fastest, no matter what. So even if I'm viewing all 80-something thousand images, they show up here on this first page extremely quickly, as you've just seen. Whereas, if I was doing it based on another sort order, such as added to DBGallery, it's going to be slower when I click here. It's not a noticeable difference in that case, I have to say, but very often that will be the case. It will be slower if you're not doing a sort by relevance. Okay. Now moving along, advanced support for more photo formats. So we now support, I think it's 60 or so image formats, and they fit into two categories. They fit into a common image format such as JPEGs and PNGs and bitmaps and such. And those photo formats are first-class citizens inside of DBGallery. You can zoom in, you can see exactly what that image is going to look like. And you can do preview and tag and search, and everything is available to those images. We have another class of photo files where you can do everything with them, such as tagging, searching, previewing, and so forth, but we don't have a full viewer for those image types. So you can't do you need to download them to be able to properly view them. So in this case here, for example, vector graphics. Clear the filter. Here, so vector graphics, here's a .ai file, which is an Adobe Illustrator art file, or an EPS file, which is an encapsulated PostScript file. We show the thumbs of them. We will show the thumbs. If you open it up, you will see a preview, but you're really only seeing a static preview. You're not seeing the true image. You need to download it and open it up in your default viewer or editor for that particular file type for non-standard images. We're actually working on a FAQ for which ones are supported, which file formats are supported differently. Again, it has the vast majority of support, so you can tag them, and let's say it's Glenn Rogers. You can call it a subject. It could be digital art. I can save that. And I can do a search for that. So I can do a search for art, and you'll see that image. Okay. So these new photo formats, or non-standard photo formats, are certainly well supported, but they just don't have full support. You just need to view them. So here we have Canon RAW files, Sony RAW files. We have Nikon photo files. This is a 3D image format, which we do a preview and a thumb of, but you can't see them. This is a old Kodak photo CD image. The same for Photoshop files directly. Photoshop files are certainly well supported. You can see thumbs, you can see previews, but you simply can't do a full view of what they actually look like. You need to open it up in Photoshop. Now, moving along, and associated with that is we now allow any files to be stored in DBGallery. Over the years, we've had many of our clients ask, can we store more than just photo, video, and PDF files? And so now we've opened it up so you can store Office, Word files, Excel files. You can store 3D files or CAD files. You can store anything, any type of file that you wish, whether it be a zip file or a text file, anything. So if I come up here, for example, and I do a look for a Word document, what you'll see here, we have a Microsoft Word document. So again, you can search for them. You can tag them. I will do so here and save that change. But we simply can't. We show a generic icon for these non-image files. So you can store any file in here, but every one of those files will have that this icon with the extension written across the bottom. And then to open it, you simply press the download button and then open it up with inside of your editor. So if we do a search for Office here, Office files, you'll see that we have here we have Excel and Word files. Again, you can store any file type, and this is what they would look like. And again, they have full functionality with inside of DBGallery. Okay. And that is really pretty large. It's very nice to be able to store associated documents with images. You might have video files and images, and then and related Excel or other types of documents that go along with those images. Price lists, for example. Sometimes they can't be stored in a PDF file, and you want to have price lists for the actual Excel file itself to be downloaded and edited and uploaded again. Next, custom field support. Up until version 10, custom fields were only lightly supported. Now they are fully supported across DBGallery. So you may have custom fields along here in full data view. You may have custom fields and under the thumb here, wherever you wish to have them. Right now I'm not showing any at all anywhere, but what I can do is I can go into data layout settings again, and I can choose, say, it's okay, so data under the thumb. I will take season and drop it just above the file name here, or the source, file source. Okay. I will also take it and I will drop it under preview. So I will put season at the very bottom. Oh, I'll put it right above recognition here. Okay. And I will also put it under full data view. I would like to have season to be a part of what I edit in there. Okay, so now if I were to go over here, I'm going to just do a I could log out and log back in, or I could do a refresh. And now if I open up this, you can see that I have season here under full data view that I can now edit, or season exists over here, as well as season is down here now as well. Okay, so if of course if I were to do I could do a sort by season, and now we have winter, only winter photo. So this one is going to have winter under here. Oops. Zoom and preview, zoom preview. So previous releases of DBGallery had not had a decent zoom capability. Now version 10 finally does. So simply by scrolling in with your mouse wheel, use your mouse wheel to scroll in or scroll out of that image. You can move it around and have a look at exactly what's in that image here. You can do so from here as well, or do a full zoom here. So DBGallery doesn't allow you to zoom past 100%. So if you zoom all the way in here, that is 100% view of that image. We don't do digital zooms and go beyond that 100%. If you want to see what the true quality of that photo is, what it really looks like at full scale, go zoom all the way into 100%. Comments. Comments is a fairly large one, a fairly large change that we've added recently. A number of clients has asked for it over the years, and one client specifically was very interested in that feature. So working with them, we moved it up in our product development timeline and released it with version 10. And comments are not exactly, I mean, you have many data fields associated with DBGallery, and they can be description and so forth, but those are for that image specifically, and so are comments actually, but comments are conversation that can occur inside of DBGallery. Comments are conversation that occur about an image. So if I were to move over to comments here, I can add a comment that says, I can say, let's say Celia. I'm going to say Celia, love this image, but feel the brightness could be enhanced. And this is how you save a comment by doing send. You can see Glenn Rogers posted on this particular date this comment here. Now, if I'm going to close this here, and I'm going to log out and log back in as Celia. if I go to this same area here, take a look at, oh, I think I had it sorted by added to database. So here, if I open this up, now under comments, it's actually available right here in full data view as well, but this area gets very cluttered if you have a lot of comments. So that's why we have the comments section up here where you see a separate view for comments. So here again, now Celia can say, thanks, Glenn. I'll have the team resolve this, and press send. And now you can see that we have a conversation going on here. Again, if you go back to full data view, you actually can see these comments in here, but they're really better viewed here under comments. Now if I log back in as Glenn Rogers here, or G Rogers, go back to that same folder. Okay, it wasn't exactly that folder. This one here it was, right? And I can see Celia's comments, and I can reply directly to that and say, Celia, thank you, and send. And again, you can see the conversation here. Those comments, again, whether comments are available or not, and who they are available to, it can be set here. Whether or not they are disabled completely, logged in users only, or users and guests, or anyone, including public shares, whether or not they can comment on images. Next, new sign up and login experience. This is a very quick one here. We used to have a very boring login page. Now it's a little more interesting, a little more modern. And while many of our clients may not be aware of this, we've always had ability to have a sign up page. So if you have a lot of users for DBGallery and you need to set up a lot of users, you can actually have users sign up by themselves. So there's a sign up option right here. So they can simply key in a new user, John Smith, and so forth. Key in their email address and password, and they are signed up into DBGallery. They will, by default, they see an empty folder and they have no permissions across the collection. So they can sign up, but they have no permissions. You need to, well, you would then do one of two things. You would assign folders and what actions within inside of those folders they can do based on what role they are assigned. So if you have a role for generic access to your system, you may assign them that role afterwards, and new users will have access to that role and all the permissions that that role entails. Another thing that you can do is if within inside of setting up a role, there is a checkbox that says, by default, assign this role to new users. So if you do that and John Smith signs up, they will automatically be assigned that role. And I'm going to actually just touch on that very briefly because I know that when it comes to roles, sign-ins, and sign-ups, that can be important. So if we go here to roles, so in this case here, we have 100 favorites. So this is just a login that's fairly generic. It doesn't give people many permissions. So I can do this and edit that role. And here, when checked, new web user registers will automatically be assigned this role. If you select that, anytime a new user registers, they will be assigned whatever permissions that role has. As a matter of fact, you can actually do that for as many roles as you wish. So if you want to have a new user be assigned marketing, view only, and legal edit capabilities within specific folders, that can be done. It's a bit complicated and that really requires a separate talk, but just a quick overview for those that are interested, which are watching this video of version 10. The last big item here for version 10 is collections. In the desktop application, they used to be called virtual sets. I have actually renamed them to projects because I prefer, rather than calling them collections, some clients call them albums or me projects, or they can be called temporary collections, whatever the case might be. Again, going back to preferences here, what they are called can be set right here. So I can call them collection instead, do a save. And now throughout the system, at least most parts within the system, these projects will now be called collections instead of projects. And what they are, these are very important because what they are shortcuts back to the original image. If you drop images onto a collection, you don't make a copy of that image or move that image. All you're doing is taking that image, and let's say I go to a particular, I'm going to go here to New York favorites. For example, if I take this image here and drag and drop it to another project, it simply copies a pointer over there. If I'm up here under that folder where I was previously, and I want to take these two images here, I want to create a new collection, and I'm going to call it Las Vegas. And I can take these two images here and drop them into Las Vegas. And all I'm doing here in that case is having a pointer back to that original image. So I might be doing a publication or a special article or something associated with Las Vegas, and I want these two images to be a part of that. I can be, over the days or the weeks or the months coming up to doing that publication, I may be searching around, taking a look over here, do Las Vegas favorites, for example. And here we are at MGM and such. And I can take these now and I can add those to that collection. I have those 3 files. I might want to take this one here, take that one file, drop it over here. I might decide that I don't want to have that image in here any longer. If I open it up, I can do an exclude. You don't delete them from a collection or project. They just simply get excluded because you're not deleting them from the source itself. You're just removing them from that project. Okay, so now we have just these 3 remaining here. Okay, now if I want to demonstrate that if I go back here and I take one of those images, this one here, which is Paris, if I make changes to the data in here, because those collections are only a shortcut back to the original image, if I make a change in here, I'm going to say it's an architectural subject, an author's demo, and do a save, that those data changes are reflected here. As you can see, author and subject has been changed. Again, these are extremely useful because they can be either temporary projects or permanent projects or collections, whatever you wish to call them, and they don't take up any space. They take up, well, almost no space. They take up no folder space and absolute minimal space in the database. and it is one of the most important and useful features of any image management system. And DBGallery does it very well. As a matter of fact, many image management systems don't have it at all. It seems to be fairly unique with inside of DBGallery. Okay, just a couple more remaining. One is we have an improved audit trail. Going back, this goes back to insights. I mentioned sometime a little earlier where we have some insights as to what's occurring with inside of the collection up here. These were recently opened. These are recently updated. And if I were to go over to our audit trail, which has existed prior to release 10, but we've added a fair number of new types that we do log in our audit trail. Okay. So if I want to see, as you can see here, the things that we've done throughout this video have been logged in here. Right, so I've moved things around, I've added images, I've changed folder names, and I changed subject and author here just a minute ago. If I want to see if I've moved folders around, you can see that I had moved folders around with the from Nick up to the inbox from Nick, and then I moved it back away from there. If I want to see whether or not people are creating shared links, you can do that here. So you can see who created shared links, in this case G. Rogers or SuperAdmin, or whether it was Celia or anyone else. And I can also see whether or not those links are being opened. This is really important if you're a marketing organization sharing links with potential customers. You can see when links are opened. So you can see the date of links being opened. You can see this is a link that I was using as a test earlier. You can see that they were opened several times. So again, it goes back to providing some insights into what's been happening. So if you have a lot of users, you can see what a specific user is doing. So you can see here I have G. Rogers and public access, and I think we saw SuperAdmin earlier. So if we want to see who's opening up shared links, I think we can do public here, right? Public access via sharing link, or whether any SuperAdmins have been seeing them. Yes, one opened up a link here, or just G. Rogers here. Again, it's a great insights tool for your collection. Very last one. Here is infinite scroll. And what that is simply, in the past, you would have to use our paging mechanism to go from one page to another. So going back to this folder again, if I wanted to go to the second page, there's 12 shown per page. If I want to go to the second page, I do this, go to third page. Of course, I could have it open it up so I can say 48 on that page, so we have fewer pages. But now what happens is you don't necessarily ever have to use that anymore. And it's a feature actually that it's a aspect of the UI that we're thinking about getting rid of, simply because now when you have search results or you're viewing a folder, say I want to just do the best images here, and if I was viewing just 12 of them, I have multiple pages, but if I simply scroll down here, the next page gets automatically loaded as I'm scrolling. You barely seen it, but there was a little more images icon over here as I scroll up and down. If I were to clear that filter and scroll down here very fast, you can see the load images, and it just happens automatically when I scroll down. And that's it. And questions. While we were doing a recent a webinar yesterday, there were a number of questions that I will answer here because they were good ones. First of all, one question was whether or not we can create a collection or a project from a search result. And you kind of can, because if I want to do a search for Ukraine, no, let's not say Ukraine, let's say Oslo favorites from the entire collection. So these are the results that I have here, and maybe I only want those that are dealing with the Opera House. So if I do that, put it in a phrase search. So these are the Oslo Opera House images. I can take these 8 images, select all of them, go down here under my collection that I've got here, and call this, I'm going to create a new one called Oslo Architecture Feature Article. And I can drop these onto here, and I've now created a collection with those images in here. I then wanted to, if I certainly can continue to add to that collection, but that gives me just the search results that I was looking for here at that particular point in time. The next question from the webinar was whether or not DBGallery is releasing any new features in the very near future. 10.1 was a while coming. I think it was about 6 months or so between the previous release and 10. That was a big release, and we do indeed have other releases coming up. We have a 10.1 release coming up in early April. That includes a number of tweaks based on feedback from clients that are related to release 10. Whenever you do a big release, there's often feedback for tweaks or fixes in some cases. And so we're releasing 10.1 early April. And next, we have a number of features, big features, that we are planning on adding again for later April or May. So we continue to do development. One example is right now, the only way to change the thumb size in here is to change your browser zoom level. So our DBGallery will indeed change thumb sizes based on how much real estate you have on your browser page here. But what we're planning on doing is allowing you to choose the size of your thumbs directly via a bar along the top here. And also, one feature that I'm actually viewing a beta of version 10.1 right now, and here we have a grid view. So we've always had the gallery view and the map view, where you can see these images across a map. So the Oslo Opera House, of course, is here in Oslo, but now we've also added the data view, or the grid view, where you're seeing the data directly. So you're seeing only the data for those images. Those data, you could choose what goes here. So if you don't want to have a title, just drop it here. If you want to have the subject after keywords, move it over here. And this data is editable directly. So if I want to call this architecture as well, I can copy and paste that. I can do this one. I can make that edit right here. I can change this one to architecture as well. This one to portrait. And that data gets edited directly as I'm keying it in here. It's like having a little spreadsheet inside of DBGallery. So that is just one of the many exciting features that is coming up over the coming months for DBGallery. Anyway, thank you for joining and watching this video. Really appreciate it. Hope you truly enjoy Release 10 as much as I do.